Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I am doing a sketchbook tour. So this sketchbook is the one made for me by my friend Spofgh, with all the different Bockingford Tinted Watercolor Papers. And I wrote the dates down conveniently, worked on this from January 2021 through November of 2022. So I worked on various sketchbooks during this time. This wasn't my only sketchbook. But if you're interested in seeing me painting any of these, a lot of them are on this channel. I'm not going to link to each individual one because it'll take ages, but you'll find them. This sticker is by Audra Auclair, and the one on the back is Jamila Knopf. So just want to point those out before I inevitably forget. But otherwise, this is Bockingford Tinted Watercolor Paper, and each section is a different color. Within the sketchbook, I work through each section chronologically, so all of the blue ones, like this is the first piece I did, and then they get newer as they go, but then I jumped around to different colors, so some of the ones in later sections were done before some of the ones in earlier sections, so I don't really have a time frame for when all of these were painted. Nevertheless, we'll go ahead and get started. In the first section of this sketchbook, I was using the Mariah Beth and Fineliner Nerd watercolors. This sketchbook is where I started experimenting more with limited palettes, so that was a good place to start because it was by default a limited color palette. So not really much to say about this guy. I also started playing with golds and mica again for the first time in quite some time, so I really like this. It was a good way to start. And then this is my D&D character, and I don't remember why I painted him here. But yeah. And this is where I really started to fall in love with this paper. I think I liked it. It was like a little love at first sight, but this particular spread I absolutely adored working on. I really got in the groove of working with those limited palettes, and I think there's some gold on this guy in both his earrings and eyes. And then I just absolutely loved how that little bow came out. He was such a sweet little character. So, moving on. This was another one of my venting frustration ones, and I didn't like it at all, so I really have nothing to say about him, but it's still the same palette. And then I think the first few pages up to him were all basically done in a row, and then this actually was much, much later. And I think that really shows with how much more I carved out facial features and pushed the values of the watercolor, because I, for the most part, tend to work really light, and I was trying to push myself there. I definitely messed up the head shape though, but I like this one a lot still, just because of the jaw shape. And then this one was really recent. It has shiny red accents, which is another one, I think, of me venting frustrations. So this one would have been the first one I did outside of the blue section, and I'm not a big yellow fan, so I didn't love this section as much, and I got kind of a rough start. Originally, I was planning, since I was using the Mariah Beth and Fineliner Nerd watercolor palette here, it's definitely my hand, on this section, I originally planned to start with a different limited color palette, and I know I was trying like a Perylene Maroon because that was a new one for me, but I really don't remember the palette I used, and I gave up on that really quickly. This one is terrible, but I also have like no memory of making it. I had a really high fever after my second COVID shot, and I apparently painted this. I have no memory of it whatsoever. I would have told you I just sat around watching Schitt's Creek, but proof that I did a painting that fever dream, complete disaster. And then this one, I think was on YouTube as well. I was pulling out my beam paints for the first time in a while, and yeah, I really did enjoy working with them, but they are really hard to push value for me, and I think it's just because I have that little cookie with the little dots of paint, so it's just it's a little bit more difficult to pick up a lot of pigment from that with bigger brushes. So that's a problem I created for myself. And then this is another disaster page. I tried to do something with gouache, it wasn't really working, and then I got tired of it because it sat around for a while, so I tried to rush it to completion, which was a terrible idea, but I don't like that one. Can't win them all. And then this was actually my no-buy video for 2021. And similarly, I'm not a big fan of this one either. I think this was also beam paints. And it does have some gold accents there. This one was something I was trying out some paints a friend sent me. So thank you, Elaine. And there were Holbein and some Daniel Smith colors I just didn't have. And then this I just had covered because it's colored pencil and I didn't want it to rub onto the opposite page. And yeah, I actually really liked how this one was coming out, but I got tired of working on it and the pencils were straining my wrist. I just really had a good time playing with different colors, and I hadn't used colored pencils in years, so it was a really good experience, minus the wrist pain and hand pain. But I've pretty much figured out ways to work around that. Now I just have to get motivated to use pencils again. I got pencil grips that are a bit more ergonomic. And I also discovered that using pastel mat, which is really textured, takes a lot of strain off because you don't have to push as hard on the pencil. And this, I think, may have been another video. This too, perhaps. And this may have also been beam paint, but I'm not sure. This one, judging by the texture, was probably Daniel Smith. Yeah, the texture in the hair is definitely the granulation from Piemontite Genuine. So yeah, this one, silver accents. So I was testing a new color palette for the green section and definitely didn't stick with that either. I think my original plan was each section was going to have its own color palette to explore, but I'm not good at sticking to things like that. And then this, actually I think both of these have a video on this channel. I'm still really fond of this one. I love painting skin. I love building up shadows like that, and the wings were so much fun to do. And I actually, looking back, I really do like that faded wing. I wasn't sure if I was copping out being cheap on that one, but no, I really like this one. And then this was my interpretation of Howl from Howl's Moving Castle, but the book version. And there's some proportion issues here that bother me, but otherwise he was really fun to paint too. It was for, we did like a book club on a Discord server, and a bunch of us did paintings for it as well. And then this was another venting piece. Whenever there's hands holding someone, it's a venting piece. I can't tell you at this point what was stressing me out, but man, that is vibrant green. And then just to go against that, this one is really faint and is a much paler green. And I really like those silver accents. I'm pretty sure this was on YouTube as well. I think these are on YouTube, but I don't like either of them looking back on it at all. And I don't really remember the context for these either. I know I was pretty art blocked around this time, but yeah, looks like gold accents on one side and silver on the other. The silver is probably most of the time the beam paint silver. I really love theirs. And then this was just kind of an experimental ink doodle. I used a fountain pen and I just kind of went in directly with the ink and built up shapes. This was actually the last page in the sketchbook and I just could not bring myself to finish it. So I just decided to do something different, and whatever happened, happened, but then the sketchbook was done. I kind of regret it because I don't really like it, and that's how I finished the sketchbook, but that's okay. It's good to try new things and to push yourself by doing ink directly, because it adds a lot of challenges. So I definitely played with some shapes, but yeah, don't know. And then this was a Reddit Gets Drawn, moving into the tan section. I like the tan a lot better than the yellow paper, but generally I prefer the cooler colors, the blue, the green, and the gray, which we haven't seen yet. But yeah, so this was a Reddit Gets Drawn. I just really liked the picture and wanted to try a likeness and didn't really succeed. Did I skip a page? No. And then this was, these both may have been videos. This one I think was a little mage guy. And then, yeah, I don't really have much. Oh, I remember. This one I was just trying to use a warmer palette because I tend to have very cool looking skin tones and wanted to really punch up the warmer reds in there. So yeah, that was my goal there. This was supposed to be like a halfling blacksmith, and I don't think he really worked out. Still some proportion issues there, massively. And then this one was another video, and this I think was the A Gallo paints. I really like this one, but I never built up the values enough. I think I just stopped too soon, but there is something to be said about the softness of it, and I really like it for that too. I just really had a fun time painting, especially the neck, and yeah. So this one, once again, just protecting colored pencil, is probably, this is probably one of my favorite ones in the sketchbook. Another one where I was pushing both value and warmer tones. This was something I'd originally started as a little project to create a larger painting that was part of a Discord event. It didn't work out because I wasn't connected to the idea or the character that was going to be included in this bigger painting. So instead I decided just to paint the character I'd come up with and try to connect with him more through there, and then maybe later go back and do the bigger painting. But larger paintings have not really, I haven't gotten there yet, so maybe one day I'll revisit him. And yeah. And then this was another colored pencil piece. I'm not as fond of this one, but I was trying to explore some of the same things with texture and playing with different colors in the skin. And yeah, definitely need to get back to color pencil. Just flip that back in. Not that I plan to work on the other side more, but I still don't want it to rub off. And then this was definitely a YouTube video, and I really did enjoy painting this one, and I like the final product. And then this was actually supposed to be a YouTube video because I had been trying to do one for the first sketch I did in each color paper, but the exposure or something was really messed up on the camera, and while it looked fine on my camera, whenever I pushed it to my computer, it was completely blown out. So that was my one Hades fan art. Get some of the sparkly there too. I'm so excited for Hades too. And then this was another challenge on a Discord group about doing expressions, and because we were doing multiple, I don't remember if it were a day or a week, and I was otherwise busy, these started really quick, which is why they're so light. It was more about getting the expression down and then just throwing a little color on it for fun. But as I went, I ended up adding more and more value and paint, so by the end, they were a little bit more my normal style, which I probably spent too long on all of these for just a little expression test. And once again, it was my D&D character, and he's horribly inconsistent because I'm just not good at that. I'm not used to painting the same character over and over again, so I struggle with that consistency. And then this was a little project for Justin Donaldson and Rachel Bradley's Clarity Workshop, where basically you had to kind of create your own, describe your inner demon, or brain gremlin. I don't remember exactly how it was worded, and you had to describe it, and it was optional to actually draw them so you could, I don't know, see them more, interact with them more, fight with them more. But that was my little inner demon. I think there's, of course, gold accents as well. And then this was a project for Justin Donaldson's form and rendering class, and this was about leather and metal. And I didn't do enough with the metal. I did other sketches in just graphite elsewhere, so I didn't feel I did myself an injustice, but I think fur was part of it too. So I just did a little character in leather armor with some fur and a metal headband to practice some of those techniques. And this was another YouTube video, I believe, and I was just using a direct reference to a picture I'd found on Pinterest. I think I amped it up just a little bit, but I just wanted to play with lighting more, and I really did enjoy this one. I struggled with it, but the warm lighting, the super bright light on that side of the face was definitely a challenge for me, and I really liked it. So yeah, that was probably my shortest sketchbook tour to date. It's not, I don't know why this board's in here. I don't think it's protecting anything either way, so it must have been serving another purpose at some point. But yeah, that's probably my shortest sketchbook tour yet. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of those together. Like I said, a lot of them are videos on this channel, so if you want to see them in more detail or as they're created, you can find those in my channel. But yeah, otherwise, hope you're all having a wonderful new year, and I will see you in a future video. Bye.